What is going on, my friends, boys and girls? Welcome to the Josh and Ashley Show. Today is super, super special, not just because we're in a new year, but because we have a new friend with us on the show. Her name is Monica Tanner. She's one of the coolest people ever. She's going to change your life for the rest of your life, and we're going to talk about entrepreneurship and being an entrepreneur family. We're going to talk about relationships in the scariest week of the year for every single married couple, and you're going to want to pay attention to this. Business systems, growth, success, all of the drama, the ups and downs. I'm joined by Ashley, my high school sweetheart. How you doing over there, babe?
I am doing so wonderful, and I have one of my really good friends, Monica, and I am so excited because she is going to literally blow your mind in all of the ways.
All of the ways.
Oh, dear.
So, Monica, welcome to Texas, but you're familiar with Texas, right?
I am born and raised right here in Texas.
Yeah, and then you left and you live in Boise. Well, Eagle or something, right?
Eagle, Idaho.
Yeah, and you are
right.
helping people all over the world with what? Relationships.
That's right.
That's kind of important, I guess. Relationships, right?
I mean, they say that the quality of your life is based on the quality of your primary marriage relationship. So yeah, I like to help people with that.
Yeah, plus like the parenting effect. And I mean, Ashley and I have worked with a lot of entrepreneur families, and we're not like experts and therapists and PhDs, but we do have a bachelor's degree in pain and a master's degree in suffering. Okay, so we have that. And then we don't want the PhD and whatever would come after that. I'd prefer not to have that happen. But we see a lot of pain, turmoil, kids. A lady that cleans our house, I was talking to her the other day because it was her last day.
Didn't
for
you
that.
make her cry? You made her cry.
On accident.
I'm pretty sure you made her cry.
All I did was we're just talk. I was like, "Hey, I see a lot of potential in you. You're an awesome worker." I was just being nice and edifying her, and I meant it because she's awesome. And she got a little emotional, but she said something about her father that had said something to her when she was really young, and it's crazy like how one offhanded comment can train wreck not just females but anybody, right? Like there's life and death in the power of the tongue. So like I know that's parenting, we're talking about marriage, but it's all mixed together, right?
Actually, Monica says something really great about being a good parent. She was talking about it yesterday. We went to this $1 million ladies' lunch yesterday, and she was talking about it. And she was talking about because people are worried about being a good parent and an entrepreneur. Tell them what you were saying.
Well, a good mother. There's lots and lots of mother guilt out there, right? Because you want to be a good mom, you want to be a good wife, you want to be all the things, but entrepreneurship does take a lot of time. And so I tell my entrepreneur mothers all the time that the two greatest gifts you can ever give your children is one is a blueprint for living out your dreams, right? The worst thing you can ever do for your children is a life unlived, right? Is because they feel so much guilt about that their parents have sacrificed everything for them. And so, here they are. So you're giving your children permission to succeed by living out your dreams. And then obviously doing that in a healthy, thriving marriage relationship, giving them the blueprint for that, then you've given them everything that they need. All the rest is details. So if you're living your dreams and you're doing it with your eternal companion, your spouse by your side, and having a great time, showing them what that looks like, what happily ever after that it is possible, and what it looks like, you're giving your children everything they need. Everything else is just details.
Wow, that's deep. I mean, let's unpack that. Let's talk for like a few minutes just about this. So
Yeah.
is part of what you're saying. So let's talk about the wrong way that we all do it sometimes on accident, meaning we get disconnected in our marriage. Kids can feel it.
Oh, for
They're
sure.
hypersensitive.
They track
They're
it.
like walking radio receivers that can like feel the vibes of the do spidey sense. They know what's going on. They know what's going on. Okay. It's not a secret. Which is normal to have ups and downs and struggles and things, but so that's bad. But are you saying it's good for the woman to pursue her dreams and be ambitious, but talk openly about it and like let her kids watch her struggle and succeed and fail? And like, is that what you're talking about?
1,000%. Yeah.
Versus worshiping her kids, waiting on them hand and foot,
The
idolizing
worst
them.
thing you can do for your kids is make them the center of your universe because they don't get anything from that. They learn nothing.
Say it again for the kids in the back.
I loved it too.
Making your kids the center of your universe is the absolute worst thing you could ever do for them. Your family should revolve around the mother and the father. They are the team, and everything filters down from there. So yes, mother and father should equally support each other as they both become who they're meant to become. They live out their purpose. They do the things that are on their mind and heart, the things they were sent to this earth to do. And when your kids see you doing that, they have everything they need to become exactly who they're meant to become.
Good God, that's good.
So good. One of the things that we do in our household that I think aligns with what she's saying is one of the systems that we use is that my husband always says, you know, people will say when their kids are like talking back or whatever, don't talk to your mother that way. But my husband has never said that. My husband says, you don't talk to my wife that way because I am the queen of, you know, he's the king and I'm the queen. And you don't talk to Josh Latimer's wife like that because I'm his wife first before I'm their mother.
I love that so much because, yes, you were his wife before you were their mother.
Yeah.
And you will be his wife after you are their mother. So,
Okay. Well, you work with a lot of entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
right?
yeah.
And what are some of the biggest issues that you see in terms of problems, broken things? Is it people coming to you that they have a good thing going and they just want more? They're the super high achievers of everything, including marriage? Or is something really broken? And if so, what are the top couple problems you see?
Well, there is the real life statistic that entrepreneur couples have a higher divorce rate than, you know, regular 9 to 5 marriages. So that is a true thing. And there's so many reasons for that. But one reason is because it is very unstable. Like I always quote Ashley when I say entrepreneur wives feel like it's like being dragged through the mud blindfolded, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's unpredictable.
My husband always says, like, to entrepreneurs to get them all riled up. He'll be like, entrepreneurship is like jumping off a cliff and building a plane on the way down. And I'm like, yeah, but an entrepreneur wife is attached, blindfolded, screaming, please, Jesus, figure this
It's
out.
like a rope tied around your leg.
A rope tied around
And
my
I'm
leg.
the
Like,
one
we
that
didn't
jumped off
jump.
the cliff.
Yeah, he jumped and we just follow.
And men are terrible communicators oftentimes. So I didn't even mention to you that I was about to jump off the cliff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We had no
Exactly.
idea that there was a cliff jumping happening. And then you jump the cliff. And I'm like, what the frick? And then I turned into a naggy pants and was a nagging wife. And he's like, stop nagging me. And I'm like, yeah. Okay, but keep going. Keep going.
Well, so a real solution to that, and what I help couples understand, is that the feeling of being in it together is what helps you really create that family life, and the relationship that you're really wanting is not feeling like you're being dragged behind, like fearing for your life, right? You want to feel like, oh, we're in the cockpit of the plane together, building it together, even if you're not an active participant in the business, right? You want to feel like you have some sway here, like you're the co-pilot, right? Like you, so that's number one.
That it's huge. It's huge. I mean, sometimes I tell people you should have your own individual goals. Your spouse should have her own individual goals, but you have to have joint unified goals or family goals. And maybe goals is the wrong word, but a vision for your life. I think a lot of mothers worship or idolize their kids, and they're not doing it because they're bad people. They're doing it. They're doing a bad thing without realizing it.
Yes.
Because they're trying to like do a good job. But sometimes the woman is also like idolizes her husband, or she's almost like a housekeeper roommate instead of like a
But
equal
secretly
partner.
resents it.
Oh, yeah, I would imagine so, right?
Right.
But outside, there's abusive people, there's bad people, there's narcissistic, crazy, psycho, disconnected, borderline personality people. These people exist. But for everybody else, not them, those, I feel like things get out of whack on accident.
Yeah.
So the man, it depends, okay, but just our example, the man is trying to go club something and drag it home. He wants to club something and drag it home. And he might not be able to do that for months or weeks or whatever. And it's horrible. And it's this inner turmoil. It's starting a business is, you know, Elon Musk said it's like eating broken glass and staring into the abyss. So it's hard. It's hard. For most people, it's really hard. And they want this like edification when they get home. But if you started a business after leaving some level of a stable job, you might not get that. You can get resentment. No one's doing anything on purpose. They're not trying to self-sabotage. But this is the pattern that I see happen all the time. Why doesn't she respect? Well, everything I do is for this family, right? And then when he comes home and doesn't get like the validation, respect, love, and hey, we're going to talk about adult things like purple unicorns, sex. So that's the last time I'm going to warn you. If you got little kids, you don't
yeah,
want to hear that word.
PG-13. This is going to be
PG-13 from here
PG-13, maybe
But
a little R. I
When
don't
he's
know.
not getting those things, then he starts to isolate. She starts to resent more, and it snowballs, right? And they both are sort of justified, logically at least, in their own way, right?
Yeah.
And then it's a nightmare. And
Yeah.
you've talked to people
But
like
the
that.
truth is that the man who's out there like trying to figure out the thing, he's putting enough pressure on himself. But the key here is if he's not communicating with his wife his feelings and his fears and the things that are happening, she doesn't know. And so now she's putting more pressure on him because she just like wants some input. Like she just like, I want some buy-in, like let me know what's going on, right? And when she doesn't get that, then she turns into naggy pants, and he doesn't even want to go home. He's rather spend all his time there
Yes.
than coming home and then taking the barrage of crap that's coming from his household, and then everybody else looks more attractive than home.
Oh, yeah.
And then it feeds into, like, as a unicorn entrepreneur wife, then it feeds into, oh, he's always at work. He loves his job. Like, it's like this beast that gets created because then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know what I mean? Basically, I don't know if that's what you'd call it, but when, then he doesn't come home, and then she's like, see, I knew he wouldn't come home. And then it just builds up. It festers like a sore. Women have this ability to. Myron Golden said this amazing thing because I said, why can't I like let go of things? He said, because women are meant to contain things and then reveal it to their husband. It's like the way that we can. Of course, it was very Myron Goldenish and very awesome. And now you're getting the Ashley version. I apologize, Myron Golden. Forgive me. But he was saying that that's our job is we contain it. We make it like you take a house, a woman contains it and makes it a home. Same with a seed. If we're going to go there, let's go there. A seed, and then we make in our womb and we make a baby, like. And so that's what we also do with bad things. We contain them and then we reveal them, everybody.
You contain them, grow them, and then reveal them.
Yeah.
Grow
Yes.
them. Yes, we grow them.
Which
That's
is-
why we grow stories.
And that could
Right,
be
which is
for
why
good or
resentment is
bad.
very sneaky, especially resentment coming from an unfulfilled woman. Is it gets planted and then it grows and it grows and it grows and it reveals itself very badly.
It doesn't come out cute.
Another thing, maybe just to relate to people that have small businesses, is as you start to have success in business, I've talked to tons of people about this. Even the more success you have, the more risky what I'm about to say is people around you start to build you up at work.
Yeah.
People online start to build you up, that follow your profile or whatever. And that's risky, right? And so one of the stories that Russell had told us with Russell and Colette Brunson was how he made $1 million in a day. I think he said it was the first time he'd done that, which, doing it at all is a pretty big deal, right? He's done it lots of times now. And everyone's edifying him. You're a genius. You're the greatest. And he comes home and his wife is like, can you just like take out the garbage?
Can you just be home?
No.
Yeah, just be here.
But I have two things I take away from it, and I want to get your feedback on it. First thing is, it's good for him that happened, okay? Because we need
It's
a
very
reality
grounding.
check. Because it's all fake bullcrap, right? Like everybody has an angle. If people think you're cool, they just want to pick your brain. A lot of takers are around and stuff, and you don't need your ego stroked, right? But the other thing is it really sucks that she wasn't clapping and cheering louder than anybody else in that moment, right? Now, who's to blame? Well, both of them, right? Because he wasn't communicating, hey, I'm going to work hard late to get this outcome, and here's why it matters to our family, and here's what's in it for you, and here's the timeline I think will happen, but maybe not, but I'm going to keep you posted. He didn't do that. He was just gone, got this huge result, demanded the respect and, admiration. I don't know. What are your thoughts when you hear things like that?
Well, 100%. It's that communication. And if you talk to Russell and Colette, like in my interview with them, is they talked about that's one of their greatest challenges is communicating, right? Russell wants to go out and shield her from the hard stuff that he's going through, right? And being able to communicate with her and making her the co-pilot, right? So that she can kneel in prayer and shoulder the burden and all of that together. She might have been a little more excited when he got that result, right?
Yeah. Well, do you think it could be a mistake to because everybody's different. So I guess what I'm trying to figure out is what's the principle that we're talking about here? Because some people, their spouse might get totally overwhelmed by the chaos of a small business.
Sure.
And so you don't want to just puke and dump more than they want. So I guess maybe it would depend on the person. And I also meet couples where the wife's like, yeah, you do your thing, I do my thing. That just, stay in your lane. And they have like these siloed lives, which I think is horrifying. But a lot of people do that, and it seems like maybe it's okay. What do you think? Not that they don't ever talk, but they don't get deep on it. How was work? Oh, this happened, that happened. Okay, how's your day? This happened, that happened. Versus, I'm freaking out. I got to solve this problem. Let's whiteboard it out. I mean, Ashley and I'll drag her into my office. I'm like, I'm freaking out. We have to, and she doesn't even know it has no context. I'm like, solve this problem with me. And just me talking in front of her, I'll solve the problem. And she's like, great, glad I could help. Right? I don't know if that's good or bad.
A lot of $50,000 problems, everybody, just so you know.
But I don't know if it's good or bad that I would do that to her, or if it's valuable because I'm bringing her in. Like, hey, this is where my head's at. I got to figure this out.
Have you ever just asked her?
That sounds like
simple.
that sounds
I need
too
more complexity
easy.
than that.
That sounds too easy.
Well, you actually touched on a really important point, and that is that I'm constantly teaching people your spouse doesn't have to be passionate about what you're passionate about to be passionate about you. So like my husband loves what I do. Why? Because I go in and I help people with their marriage and I come out and I'm like 1,000 times more attracted to him, right? But he doesn't get passionate about relationships. He just loves me, right? So he sees what I'm doing and he loves it because it not only blesses my life, it blesses the people I'm helping, and it also blesses his life because he sees me growing and learning and becoming and doing the thing that I was meant to do, right? And so you don't have to be obsessed with your partner's obsession. Just be obsessed with your partner. And so you don't have to expect that from each other. So if Ashley loves to hear about the things that you're whiteboarding out and she feels like she's helping and growing in the business that way with you, then by all means do that. But if she's like, I don't want to help in this way, then share it with somebody in the business or somebody who geeks out about it like you do.
That's good.
I want to know.
I
I want to know all of the things, and I didn't used to want to know all the things. I think this has been a gradual thing. This is ever since we started going into the inner circle. Like I didn't, I realized I guess what I should say is I love marketing. I think it's delicious and sexy and all of the things. If you would have asked me that like 7 years ago, I would have been like, what is marketing? But I used to be in youth ministry and I found out that I was actually a really good marketer for Jesus. And now I'm like, oh, this is what I was doing there. Now I have principles that back up what I was doing and I'm actually obsessed with it. Well, I'm obsessed with Jesus too, but that's beside the point. But I love marketing, and then I love it when my husband's like, babe, that idea is so amazing. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like when he gives me props in that area, I'm like, or when he has like a really, sorry, I'm not going to talk about marketing too much because, yeah, but he can turn me on with his marketing brain. He can like say something and I'm just like we'll be in we just were in this meeting not too long ago. I'm just going to throw you under the bus, babe, but we were in this meeting. There's this new news network that's starting, and we got to be in the boardroom for it. And I was just like a fly on the wall there, but my husband was dropping these sexy bombs where I was like, I am so going to rape you later because your brain is the hottest thing I've ever seen. You are the smartest man alive.
Well, it is awesome to see your spouse in their zone of genius, right? Even if you don't totally understand what it is they're doing, but they're up there with their confidence and they're like in their zone of genius. It's like, oh man, you see them in a new light, like where you don't, at home, they're just taking out the trash.
Oh yeah. Yeah. When I see him, he gets his little Elon marketing Musk brain going and it's like Rain Man and he's making this strategy for people. And I'm like, oh, well, I want you so bad right now.
Well, I think, there's so much.
Am I embarrassing
There
you?
is so much because there's seasons, like what Ashley's referring to as seasons. Like, for example, like I was really in the business with my husband. We started and grew our business together. But once I had 3 kids, I was like, get me out of here. Like, put me in the sane asylum or get me out of the business, right? And so there's like different seasons. And I never went back to his business. I started my own business and he was very supportive of me doing that. So there are different times and seasons. Like maybe she wants to help more, maybe she doesn't. But it's good. That's the communication. Like that's asking her, like, how are you feeling right now? Is now a good time for me to like whiteboard this out and you to solve all my problems? Or should we clean the kitchen first?
And by the way, Monica and her husband, they don't have a little cute little business. They built like an empire. And I'm not putting you on the spot. I don't know all the details, but it's big. And you've built big companies in Texas and sold them, and you have other ones all over the country, right? Service companies. What is it, pest control that he's in that business?
Yeah, for the most part. He's built and then sold companies in Texas, California, Washington, Nevada.
Oh yeah, just a few. Just
Well,
The
I
world.
think it's important for a couple reasons. Number one, don't trade places. Don't take advice from someone you wouldn't trade places with. Is like kind of a mantra I try to use, meaning like we want the marriage to work, but we also want the business to work. I see with small business owners specifically. I see people that just wallow in poverty and they use the excuse of money isn't everything. But I already know that the reason that most of the people say that is because of their own fears of stepping out. Their fears of trying to go for it, going for broke, right? Really growing the business. They're pretending, they're creating a false dichotomy that, I can either be successful in my business or be at home all the time but be totally poor. Like these are the two choices, which is totally fictitious. It's not real, right? So it's like a facade for their fear. But then there's other people like the Grant Cardone culture, which I despise, okay, is the hustle, 10X grind, all this stuff. It just feels so fake and so messed up and so jacked up. I don't like that. Like just more. But you guys have built a lot of wealth for your family. You've raised a bunch of kids and you've done this and now you have your own company. And you're happily married, like for real. And we know Monica's our friend, okay? This is legit. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important we've chosen each other through it all, but my husband's success or our success together has allowed us a lot of time freedom, a lot of financial freedom, time freedom. We've been able to help in certain ways other people that we wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to do if we were constantly struggling for that dollar, right? So my husband's main I would say hobby is coaching. He coaches our kids in different sports. He coaches sports that our kids don't play. We have 4 children and none of them are soccer players. My husband and I both played soccer in high school. He played in college. Like we gave them all the soccer genes, but our kids chose not to play soccer. They play other sports. They're very athletic. And my husband coaches the varsity soccer team at our local high school and he loves it. Like it fills his bucket. He also coaches my daughter in basketball. He coaches all my kids in all their sports, whether he's played them or not, but it fills his heart with joy. And I love the ability he has to do that. And he doesn't get paid to do that. Right.
Would you say it's easier to make a lot of money when you're in momentum with your spouse?
Oh, 1,000%. There's research that shows that men and women who are in happy marriages, they make more money.
I think we need to say that one again for the back row, just in case, because all these people that we know are trying to just slave over and putting their family on the back burner, saying, once I get to 1 million, 10 million, 30 million, 100 million, then I can.
This is just my take on it, but your spouse is the greatest asset in your business.
Amen.
If they
I
support
agree.
you have, like you guys talk about weaponizing your marriage, right? If your spouse supports you, that is the biggest asset in your marriage.
Yeah.
If your spouse is like not happy, then that is the greatest liability. Not only that, but it's also the biggest potential expense because if you separate all that work that you've been putting in to make all of this money, half of it goes to your spouse. So why do you want to do that?
Yeah. It's so good. Okay, another question I want to ask you is front stage, backstage. So in our case, Ashley was backstage per our definition of what that means for like a long time. And now she's more front stage. So she's starting her own company now, which is really cool for me because I get this extra level of like compassion for all the stuff I went through all the years because it's harder than you think.
That was my non-cute
Now, some
laughing.
couples start their company together the whole time. That's a little different. We didn't. I just went and did a bunch of stuff. She would always help. She was helpful, but I was like figuring it out, solving the problem, reverse engineering, hyperventilating, panicking, kind of on my own. It's what it felt like, at least. It's a delusion we tell ourselves. But I was alone because I didn't communicate. But anyway, but then now she's like, gets it. Like, this is actually really hard, the entrepreneur thing. Have you had that?
Yeah, and you
epiphany?
get to spend more time with the kids and you realize like, this is really hard, right? Ashley makes it look really easy.
100%.
I always say that if I want to get like my husband to like fill my love tank, I just need to go on a girls trip or like fly to Michigan or like, because then he'll call me within a day and be like, I love you so much. I appreciate you. I didn't realize that not everybody gets out of their pajamas unless you tell them to. Like there's
Yeah.
things that he appreciates more when I'm gone that he's like,
Yeah.
oh, you've been doing this the whole time. I guess I didn't fully understand. And so, yeah, it's,
Yeah, and to your front stage, backstage thing, I think there's seasons, and I think it's really important to play all the roles throughout your life so that you have a better appreciation and understanding for the contribution that your spouse is making. Like, you should always give them the benefit of the doubt that they're making a significant contribution. But I think when you get to switch roles like that, come from backstage into front stage and vice versa, then you really get more of an appreciation of who your spouse really is, the contribution that they make, and you can be more grateful for it.
I will tell the world that my husband is a really good backstage husband because he's been on front stage. And so you're gonna make me cry. He claps and cheers louder for me than anybody in the world. And I know that he didn't always have that. And so that's hard to know, but it also makes me a better me because of the backstage he does. So
Thanks, babe. Proud of you. You're doing a great job. I think none of us have all the answers, obviously. But what I'm always interested in is principles, frameworks, concepts, like things that usually work on average at a long enough time horizon with enough people. Things like communication, date night. Like how can we pivot the conversation to practical things? Like, let's talk about sex. Let's talk about communication systems. Let's
My
talk
favorite.
about date nights. Let's talk about all the things. And we also have some guys in the studio. Now, Maverick hasn't piped in yet. He was terrified to even do the switcher on this podcast interview, right? Because
It's dangerous.
the
It's
subject
dangerous.
matter. But we have Jarrett and Sean are my business partners, and they're the tech guys running the studio here. And, they're at that age where maybe they're going to, move from
Settle
dating
down.
to engagement to marriage at some point. So it's good for them. But
we can always tell the marketing game of dating because when they come dressed really nice, we're like, oh, there's a date happening. There is
oh,
something.
you brushed your teeth today.
Oh, you you put on cologne. Oh, I smell you in the best way possible. So yeah,
Okay,
there's
so let's
definitely
talk
some
about it. Let's talk about some
Yeah,
practical
yeah.
things. Like, what would you say to an entrepreneur family right now, couple? The wheels aren't necessarily falling off, or maybe they are. Maybe there's two different things you suggest. Like, what do they do? What are some practical, no-brainer, definitely will change your life, get results stuff they can do?
Okay, how much time do we have? I love this topic. Love this topic because practical application is so important. There's a lot of people that talk a lot of theory and a lot of marriage advice, whatever, but practical application is my jam. And so I'm going to say prioritize your marriage. Number one, you're going to put your wife before your children. So if you're religious, you're going to put God first, your spouse second, and your kids third. So that's, again, a great theory, right? You can say my marriage and my family is most important to me, right? But how do we live day to day in our lives? So here's some very practical tips. Number one, you want to create an intimate friendship with your spouse. Now, how do you do that? Have you ever been really good friends with somebody you've never, ever spent any amount of time with? No, right? You've got to spend time getting to know your spouse and their inner world. So my number one tip is going to be daily connections. This is 20 minutes. And here's the beautiful thing about time. We talk about time a lot, right? There are 1,440 minutes in a day. And nobody, doesn't matter how much money you have, it doesn't matter how powerful you are, it doesn't matter how much you can bench, nobody gets more than those minutes in a day, right?
Yeah.
And so what I'm telling you is you should be spending every single day 20 of those 1,440 minutes getting to know your spouse's inner world. So you ask them questions about what they're experiencing. So whether you spend 24 hours a day with your partner or you don't see them at all, they're experiencing the world very differently from you. They have different ideas, a different experience filter that they're, putting on their life. And so you want to know, like, what makes you tick? What gets you excited? What are you learning about today? What makes you nervous? What can I do to make your life easier? Those types of questions, 20 minutes a day. You want to eliminate distractions, put your cell phone away, turn the ringer off, make sure your kids aren't underfoot. And it's not hard. You can do this any time of day. You can do it first thing in the morning when you're snuggling in bed. You can do it. You can take a walk or a drive after dinner. You can do it after the kids are in bed, sitting on the couch, snuggling. There's so many times during the day where you can carve out this 20 minutes and just really get to know your partner as if you hadn't ever talked to them before.
It's freaking awesome. That's gold. I think sometimes people, I'll just say this: before we got married, we did really brief pre-marriage counseling or whatever with the pastor, Pastor Jim. Shout out, much love. 20 years ago, he said, he's like, the goal of marriage is it not him?
No, he didn't marry us. But
No, not marry us. We're talking about the pre-marriage counseling. He said the goal
Oh.
in marriage is to outserve each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then I jokingly said, "Okay, you go first," to Ashley. Like, you
Yeah.
serve me first. It's a joke, but people do that. Like, they don't want to do the 20 minutes because of the resentment and all the baggage. And maybe now we're talking about the people where the wheels fell off a little bit. Do you have any tips for them? How to reinate? Is it just the man's responsibility to say, "Look, drawing a line in the sand, prioritizing you. I'm sorry." What do they do?
Well, no partner. No partner has to be in charge, but both of them have to be willing to participate, right? So either partner can go first. Be willing to go first is what I'm saying. So whether you are a man or a woman, be willing to go first.
one thing that I was thinking of when she was talking is a lot of my unicorns, a lot of my entrepreneur wives, they work with their business and their husband probably already thinks they're doing 20 minutes because they're sitting next to each other working. They will work with their business, like on their business
Right.
together, but it's not 20 quality
And
minutes.
that's-
It's not questions. It's
Right.
not all the things. So if you're listening to this, she's saying like you're finding out about them in their world. You're like having
Yes. And that's cool.
moment.
And that's bonding, working on each other's business. Like my husband, like gives me, that helps me with things. I'm like, oh, I love it. Thank you. I know you don't get in, you don't geek out about this stuff. So the fact that you're sitting here talking with me about this means a lot to me. Right. However, you're right. That's not what I'm talking about. You're connecting. Like you're not talking about kids, finances, business, anything stressful. In fact, I was just learning about how these are stress reducing conversations. You're not talking about anything that raises the level of cortisol. You're talking about like, what book are you reading? What sitcom did you run to this morning, right? Like you're talking about the things that drive you, that make you human, that make you interesting. You're getting to know those types of things. And then I always recommend ending those daily connections with physical connections. So if that's a peck on the cheek, a nice hug, like a shoulder rub or something like that, it's physically signifying that you've emotionally connected.
So all at the
Wait.
same time, like talk, they're stress reducing, cortisol reducing, not releasing, reducing.
Oh, like holding
conversation.
hands like this totally
Holding
lowers
hands.
your cortisol.
Okay, so I'm going to go inappropriate. Let's just go there because I could see my husband's eyeballs when she's like, and then you're going to end it with something physical. And he was like, let's freaking go, everybody.
Oh, wait.
And then you were like, peck, shoulder rub. My husband always
That's
thought
literally
like
exactly what I was thinking.
I know because
That's my next tip. That's
because my
next tip. Stay
husband,
tuned.
my husband, the 5 love languages, he was like, there's no way touch is not my number one. I love to be touched. But my husband actually doesn't love to be touched. He only likes to be touched in certain ways. So hand holding, massages, those are the things that he thinks just leads to what he really wants touched.
Yeah,
didn't
but I
even
recognize
say
the
it like
value
that.
in like having an actual relationship. I mean, the best part about my marriage with Ashley is that we don't just love each other; we like each other, and we're goofy. And
Oh, I love
we
that.
give each other I tell that to my kids too. I've been saying that more to my daughters. I said, Finley, I love you, but you know what's really cool? I like you. It's almost more significant, right? In a weird way. But yeah, I mean, she needs to have an actual massage with no strings attached, or just hold her hand, or just listen to her talk about her book. By the way, what's your favorite book, babe?
Well, right
That was-
now I'm re-listening to.
No, I'm not actually asking. I'm just doing the.
I thought you were like going for it. I was like, oh, okay.
It cost her a little bit of stress. So
Yeah.
maybe pick a different question.
The thing is what you're saying is irrefutably valuable and positive. Like if someone actually did that, even for 7 days, there's no possible way you don't have a net positive result from that.
Oh, you're
but
just
they just don't do it. Why don't people
just
do
deposits because they make all kinds of excuses. I've heard everything. But yeah, it's very, very daily connections, number one. Number two, which is going to lead to what everybody really wants to talk about, is weekly non-negotiable date nights. If you are not taking 3 hours out of the 100, I love numbers, okay? There are 168 hours in a week. No matter how rich or famous or powerful you are, Everybody has 168 hours in their week. You should be taking 3 of those hours to go out and do something fun that creates memories, that lasting bonding chemicals, fun. Like, you're not talking about the kids. We're not talking about the business. We're not doing anything that's not just enjoying one another's company, making memories together. That's how you write your love story, is you go out and you do something that it just brings joy to one or both of you. You should be laughing. You should be talking about light subjects. You should be just gazing into one another's eyes. Like, this is weekly date night. It doesn't need to be expensive, elaborate, or far from home, but it should be happening every single week. So, and that should end. So that is emotionally connecting. That's emotional intimacy, physical intimacy. I want to see you flirting. I want to see you touching each other. I want you to be holding hands and hanging on each other's shoulders, looking into each other's eyes. Like, don't pick up your phone. Even if your spouse goes to the bathroom, like, don't pick up your phone. Like, look around, notice your surroundings. Think about what you appreciate about your spouse so that you can be ready to share that when they get back from the bathroom. Like, don't just pick up your phone and start checking your emails. Like, okay, so date night, super, super duper important. And I always say that you should end date night naked. Like, you
My
should
kind
sleep
of tip.
naked that night.
I mean, oh, that's good. I did some math while you were talking, actually. So, because you said you love numbers. So, if you're doing 20 minutes a day, like Monica suggests, she's got like dozens of very practical things like this. And I'll share your website. I don't want to forget to do that. But it's 3% of your time per week. The 20 minutes a day for
That's
7
cool.
days and the 3-hour date night once a week equals about 3% of your
That's
total.
amazing.
So
I
it's like-
love that.
You could use that for marketing, right? But it's such a tiny, it's an embarrassingly small percentage.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's
that
a
is
way you can
embarrassing.
call
That's
people
crazy.
out. Well, I don't have time. It's like, yeah, you do. You know,
You got 3%.
not to mention the cost of doing nothing, and divorce. So one thing we didn't talk about yet, and then I want you to give more tips, and then we're going to give your website. Everybody can connect with you. Then I'd love to get some tips for Jarrett and Sean and Maverick on how they should look at dating and stuff and things like that.
Will's back there like, wait,
But
what?
first, this week,
I want a tip.
this week is National Divorce Day or whatever. So like the first week in January basically is National Divorce Day, which is a horrifyingly crazy thing. But more divorces are filed than any other time in the year, right?
On this day. It's amazing. And I love what you just said about 3% of your time, because I've been listening to the compound effect as I've been running recently. And if you think about the compound effect of 3%, you're doing 3% more for your marriage than you were before. Like, think about that compounded over time.
Oh, it's insane.
I will tell you, date night saved our marriage, and it's a panty dropper. That's just all I have to say. It's a panty dropper. And I think the problem is with entrepreneurs, like, I know you want to talk about the next thing, but the hard part, I think, with my husband in the beginning was he couldn't see an ROI fast enough. And so that is where, it's hard for my husband to slow down and do date night. And he just likes, he's so future based that sometimes it's hard for him to be in the moment. But when he did that, our business exploded. Our bank account exploded because I was on board and I was clapping and cheering. And when he would club something and drag it home, I'm like, oh, babe. Oh, it's so amazing. And then I'd see something. I'm like, oh, I want you to club that and drag that home. And he's like, I got you.
See,
Right?
because he all of a sudden recognized the number one asset in his business, and that was you. And so he started giving 3% of his time to the most important asset in his business, like biggest return.
I mean, these days, if we had to average out this year, we go on like 2 or 3 dates a week.
Even better.
Easily. Sometimes 4 or 5. We'll go get lunch or hanging out, like a lot. And then there'll be travel and times when we don't, but it's a lot. It's a lot because it's awesome. I mean, what's the point? I forget who the originator of the quote, but there's no amount of business success can compensate for failure in the home, right?
Ooh, yeah, so good.
It's I think one of the LDS guys said that.
Ezra Taft Benson.
So it's true. It's just true. And then when I talk to older entrepreneurs or older business professionals, they just have a different tone about them. Like a wise man has many counselors, but we can learn a lot from people that already did the stuff. And humans are humans. So it's not like just because technology's changed, things are different now than they were in 1982 or 1963. People, when they're old, when they're knocking on death's door, all have the same types of things they say.
Yeah.
It's always the same thing. It's never about the in-ground pool they wish they would have got 30 years ago. It's just not. It's like, I got the above ground. I should have splurged. No, it's like, I wish I talked to my kids more. I wish I loved my wife better. It's things like that. They have regrets of not doing the things they love, that they live their life on other people's terms, right? It's if we have any brain cells at all, we should actually do things today to recognize that that's definitely going to happen if you don't, right?
100%. And I think when you bring up the fact that it's National Divorce Day, it's because people are realizing through the holidays, like they don't want to be the one that ruined Christmas, right? Like, but after the holidays are over, it's like you start to realize where you fell short, and you have two options. Like when you get married, it's like you move into this brand new house, right? And you always have two options. Once you're living in a filthy, dilapidated house, you can either buy a new house and do the same exact thing to that house that you did to the previous house, or you can roll up your sleeves and you can renovate the house. You can change your habits. You can learn how to live better so that you're not doing that to the house. And then you start to change the carpet and paint the walls and fix the garbage disposal. And so learning how to invest in your marriage, to prioritize your spouse first, that is what will keep your house nice. That's what's going to clean up your house. That's what keep it nice. And it's going to protect your marriage. So you can get a divorce and try to, do it all in a brand new house. Or you can just start putting a little bit, 3% time and energy and investment into the house that you're already in. And it's pretty amazing how quick.
We have a family member, my uncle, before he passed away, had said that, if he would have invested as much as he did in his second marriage, that his first marriage would have worked. You know what I mean? And that's a hard thing to learn, but it's super powerful.
Everything in life has to be maintained. One of the laws, I'll get a little nerdy here, but one of the laws of thermodynamics is called the law of entropy. This is like a universal natural law. Everything moves from more order towards less order. That's how it works, okay? The solar system will get cold and be burnt out at some point, right, if it goes to infinity. Things don't organize themselves in more organized, clean, decluttered ways, right? If a town gets abandoned, it gets overgrown, and it's just the way that it works. Things, they go towards chaos, toward relationships, businesses, everything. The idea of like true passive income, not true. You have to maintain and pay attention and grease wheels and do things almost always. Especially relationships. I mean, in businesses, imagine not investing any time in your business. What would be your over-under odds on succeeding at the business, right? And a business and a family are the same thing. They're people and systems. That's all it is, people and systems. And so you can't say that this is the most important thing and just do that.
But
And I've
people
done
try
all
to do
these.
that
I'm
all the
terrible.
time.
What's that?
But people try to do that all the time.
Me too. Like, I'm guilty. Okay, like I raised my right hand. Guilty. Let's pivot here in the last 15 minutes towards maybe some dating stuff. I also want to know exactly the different programs you have, which we went through some of them. I want to talk about 007, some of your date night systems. You have some insane stuff.
Maverick, get ready. Get
There's
ready
all
to
kinds
close
of
your
weird
ears,
stuff.
buddy.
But for Jarrett and Sean's sake,
Yeah.
they want to get married. And last thing I'll say, I'm sorry, and then just take it away. A lot of people prepare for the wedding, but they forget that there's a marriage.
Oh,
The
yes.
marriage is the thing. Ashley cried on our wedding night because we got back to my trailer. We lived in a trailer park. Shout out to all my condominium owners. And we had a really nice trailer, and we loved it. It was really fun. It was amazing. We get back there, and she's crying on our bed in her wedding dress. And I was like, "What's wrong?" She said, "It's over." It's over. I said, "Girl, we didn't start yet. Like, we didn't even do it yet."
we're just getting
In my
warmed up.
man brain, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, caterer, check. Marriage certificate, cool. Bags packed for honeymoon tomorrow, check. And she's like, it's because she built up in her head. Maybe women do this more than men, but built up this magical day. And it was a great day, but it was over. And now we have to do 20 years of, struggle to get
And
here.
there's no catering when there's 20 years. There's no wedding cake. Oh, man. There's no fancy dress.
It's
You're not.
so different to be married than it is to get married, right? That's why there's a little
Amen.
thriving industry in the
Amen.
Las Vegas Strip.
Hey, that's why I told Sean and Jarrett, if you want to figure out if this is a wife, you take her to Taco Bell, everybody gets some diarrhea, and you see if you can handle it. Because, like, this is like real life. You need to see what her cozy sweatpants look like, because if you think she's hot in her cozy sweatpants, she's wife material.
She's gonna spend a long time.
That's not coming from the relationship person. That's just coming from the Ashley-isms.
Yeah.
So, like, let's ask her what her real opinion is, because I'm just...
Monica, take it away. What would you say?
No, there's so much truth in that, because you want to make sure that the woman you marry, if we're talking to a man, you want to make sure that your partner is your best friend. I mean, truthfully, like, love grows, but friendship is the driver of that growth. So if you can be friends, if you can, I always recommend that you see each other in lots of different circumstances and situations, right? You want to know how they handle victory and defeat. You want to see how they handle disagreements with not only you, but also the other people in their lives, right? Like, if they have a disagreement with their mom, like, are they going to come in and apologize? Are they going to own their part? Like, you want to see all different types of scenarios. Like, you want to see them with a blown out tire. You want to see them, like, you know, all the different ways.
Go slash her tires, Jarrett and Sean, and see how they respond.
No tire slashing. No tire slashing. But I hope you guys are writing notes, because this is juicy.
This is gold.
Yeah.
But because dating is bullcrap. Truly.
It's
Truly.
marketing.
And it's not because there's a devious thing. It's just humans aren't. We didn't even know each other till we were married for 5 years.
Right.
Really.
Right.
I mean, we could have done a lot of prep ahead of time, and if we'd known this stuff, we'd have known it. But it takes time. But the way they talk to their family, their friends, the way they gossip about other people, like, these are all clues, right? Or, I don't know, I just feel like dating, like, if something happened where we weren't married right now, I think I'm just going to check out, because it's so much work.
What
to,
does
like,
that
get-
even mean,
to
check
learn-
out?
to
That
learn
was
quirks.
dark and morbid.
No, I mean, if
it
something
means
happened-
you're the wife. He doesn't want to find another one.
Oh,
I
no.
wouldn't want to,
You just...
because it's like what we have is awesome, but it was also a massive amount of work. It took a long time. Right? So it's like, man, I don't know.
I'm dead over here. I'm just dead. Like, he was like, oh, that's a lot of work. But it's
just,
not a lot
people
of
are
work.
Fake. Like, dating seems awful. We're very lucky. We dated in high school. Ashley's the only person I've ever been with, okay, and vice versa. And I mean in all the ways, including intimately. It's a gift, okay? We grew up together. We were kids. We were 16 years old, and we liked each other, and she got me a birthday present, right? So it's a
Ooh,
huge
wow.
gift. I think it's not to. I don't want to change the subject, but getting married young has a lot of value in it, and I know a lot of people that do that now. It's all good. I'm just saying, there's something that happens, I think, on the friendship side that maybe is harder when you're in a routine and you're 27 and you're career-minded. I don't know how you could recreate that as easily as it was for us, the friendship.
Yeah. So what, like, I'm totally witnessing both of you do, which I absolutely love. It's called positive sentiment override. So it's, you can take any type of situation and you're putting a positive spin on it. So it can be completely neutral, but you're seeing it in a great way. Like, oh, he's so sexy when he talks, right? Like, that's positive sentiment override. And then when you go back and you think about your courtship and when you were meeting and dating and falling in love and all of those things, it has a very positive spin to it. Like, it makes you excited and you love thinking about that period of time when you were living in the double wide or whatever, right? So, but what a lot of people do when they're not properly, when they haven't based their relationship on that firm foundation of friendship, is they develop what's called negative sentiment override, or you could also call it poop colored glasses, right? You're seeing everything through poop colored glasses. And so when your spouse does something that's, you know, that's negative or neutral or even positive, you're seeing it with a negative spin on it. And when you start thinking about your history together, you're like, ugh, she's always been the worst complainer, like blah, 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 like whatever.
Right.
You start to put this negative poop stink on your history together. And so that's why I've been learning from Dr. John Gottman, and he can talk to a couple for 15 minutes and give you with 91% accuracy, predict whether or not the same couple is going to be married in 7 years. And it's the way they talk to each other. Like, are they contemptuous? Like, are they defensive? Are they critical? Do they stonewall? Like, those are what he calls the 4 horsemen, right? But you can tell in the way a couple talks to each other, talks to other people about each other, how they feel about each other, right? And so creating that friendship and seeing each other in all these different situations, like when all the glow and the, the I'm hanging on your every word, I love the way you smell, I can't wait to see you again. When all that stuff starts to wear off, how do you view each other? Do you see each other as like, positive or negative? And that is work. It does take work. It takes conscious effort to see your spouse as somebody amazing after all the glitter and, shine has worn
Right.
off.
Or you see them sick, or you see them when they're just in a dark pit of having a bad week, or
Yeah.
a month. Sometimes
Yeah.
it turns into a quarter. I don't wish that on anybody, but so so Sean, Jarrett, Maverick, why don't you pipe in? I don't know if you've been sharing Monica's website. She has a ton of resources, quizzes, all kinds of incredible things. She has this one program. I think it's called the Mastering the Art of Sexpionage or something. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
that what
Training
it's
in the art of
called?
connection. We did change the name. Sexpionage was a little off-putting to people. I don't know why,
So,
because
but
that
the
is the net
content-
Not
result.
off-putting to my
It's
husband.
Content in
My
it.
husband loved it. The 007.
That's still in
Well, it's not
there.
just that. It's just the content in there. Say the name of it again.
Training in the art of connection.
Okay, and that's on your website, which Maverick can put up there. If you scroll down to the bottom, you can see it. Anyway, the stuff in there is so practical and epic and juicy, and like we've learned so much from you, and we're just grateful and thankful for you. So I want to exploit you for a few more minutes to help Sean, Jarrett, and Maverick and see if they have any questions or anything regarding I don't know
Relationships.
their
Maverick
plans
does
are.
not have a girlfriend, but we want him to have
He
a
will.
good, godly wife, and
He will.
we want him to have healthy things. So.
I totally want to take questions, but before, if you take nothing from this, keep dating your spouse. No matter how long you've been married, please just keep dating each other, and you'll channel that fresh, new, loving energy with each other every single week. It's amazing.
Well, that's what I like about your program the most, is because it's built for busy people, and it's basically like 12 secret missions for date nights, but they're way more tactful and like counterintuitive, get a result right now, things you do on the date night. But again, you need like a date night a week for however many weeks it is. I think it's like 12 weeks or something.
And I love what you
It's
said
insane.
before, the strategy behind the date
Exactly.
nights.
Date night, it's like, yeah, I've heard that. I've done that. It's like, no, number one, draw a line in the sand, be a man and schedule it. I always say the man's responsible for taking care of date night, by the way. That's my opinion.
I love it.
Like if you're the king, you find the babysitter. You figure it out. You reverse engineer it. Don't be a weenie. Anyway, but then when you're there, it's
See
like, what
why
do you-
it was a panty dropper, everybody? See
But
why it was a
then-
panty dropper? He like orchestrated this whole thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's obsessed with me.
And then it's
I'm
really
obsessed with
easy to be
him.
naked
to me,
at the
like
end
I
of
think
it.
it's a flex.
Very.
I think in today's culture, it's actually a flex as a man to do that. It was normal in 1952, probably a lot more so than it is now. It's very rare. The stuff we're talking about, very simple. And that's why I like your stuff, because it's super simple. And if you're really busy, it doesn't matter, because you get these tactics, you implement them, you get real results. It's crazy the stuff, and I know other people that have went through your stuff, how powerful it is. So like everyone go there and check it out. And if you're really serious, especially in the new year and the first week of divorce week, just like sign up for whatever it costs. I don't even know what it costs actually, but
It won't
give her
break the
all
bank,
of your
I
money
promise.
because it's worth hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to your business, not just because of the productivity that it's going to unlock when you're in momentum with your spouse, but the mental peace you're going to have when you're not wondering if things are about to fall apart all the time. Maybe this year marriage counseling or couples counseling has come up in conversations when you and your wife are fighting. I don't know. If these words start getting thrown around, this is the antidote to that. That is suicide to your relationship, is going down that road. Anyway, okay. I'm passionate, okay? So go to
It basically
the thing and
sounds
do
like
the
they
thing.
can't afford not to. They can't afford not
You
to.
can't. And you're just an idiot if you don't recognize that. Now, if you're good and everything's cool and you're in momentum, you're crushing it, that's freaking awesome. High five. There's so many people where they know something's a little bit off. They can't put their finger on it. And you love your spouse and you like each other, but something's broken. These little date night strategies are rocket fuel, and they're simple. That's like the best part. It's not 27,000 hours of crap to sit down and watch with PhD level stuff. It's like,
couldn't produce
do
that
it
if
like
I
this,
tried.
not like this. Remember to ask this instead of that. And this date night, we're going to do it like this. I mean, you have people drive to. There's all the secrets. There's tons of secrets. So they drive different.
Ooh, the date nights are so
They're
fun.
so clever and
So
effective
fun.
and fun and different. And huge gift to your spouse. So go do that. Now, hopefully, we gave Jarrett and Sean and Maverick time to think of some questions back there.
I got two.
Go ahead.
Okay, two of them. So the first one is, what is the biggest secret that you know now, but you didn't know? Like, what would be that biggest secret that you would tell somebody like before they're getting married?
Oh my
that
gosh,
you
I
know
love
now
that.
you don't-
Okay.
Didn't know that.
So my company is actually called Secrets of Happily Ever After. And the biggest secret is it just keeps getting better. Like I shock myself all the time. I'm like, I didn't think I could love you anymore. And now I do. It's crazy. But if you're willing to invest the time and effort into your relationship, it just keeps getting better. That is the biggest secret.
That's good news. That's something to look forward to, Jarrett. What do you say?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Sign me up.
Keep them coming. What else?
Okay, the
what
second
else?
question was, what is... Dang it, I literally just had it. Sean, what's your question? I'm going to remember the second question, but Sean does have a question. Go ahead, Sean.
I would say when it comes to deciding what to eat, I'm sure there's been a lot of divorces when it comes to deciding what to eat. So what is the best conversation starter when it comes to choosing what to eat?
Best conversation when it comes to choosing what to
Are you
eat. Okay.
talking about like when you're dating and you're like, do you want to go here? No,
Yeah,
I'll
do you
go
wanna go
anywhere you want.
here?
And then
Do
you
you wanna
pick
do
and then they're like, I don't
that?
want that. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that's exactly
The only
what I'm
married
talking
people
about.
do that. Dating people say, yeah, that sounds
yeah.
great.
I was going to say, normally when you're dating, they just lie and pretend like,
Right.
oh, that's my favorite. And they don't even like it.
Exactly.
That's why dating's bullcrap. But
You just opened up Pandora's box here. I mean, you asked several questions. What are some great questions to ask? I do have a free download that's 51 questions you can ask your spouse or whoever you're dating to get to know them better. So there's people that create all kinds of things, Gottman card decks. There's thousands of questions you can be asking each other. So don't ever get all like, I'm not creative, I don't know what to ask. Like, I can help you. But the thing that when you're asking about where to eat, this is really, really important because I think that compromise is the absolute worst thing you could ever do for your marriage. It's the worst marriage advice out there. Like, you got to learn how to compromise. No, do not compromise. That is the death of intimacy and the breeding ground for resentment. So what I like to teach couples,
Ooh, that was so good. I love that.
So good.
don't compromise. Compromising is giving up a little piece of yourself every time. So what do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you want to eat? And then you sacrifice what you really want. You compromise. You end up doing what neither of you really want to do. It's a horrible way to be married. What I like to teach people how to do is to collaborate, right? Like you take the best of your idea and the best of your spouse's idea and you put it together into something that you never would have come up with on your own. That is the biggest blessing of being married, is that you get to draw from different perspectives and different experiences from your own. So when you're single, you're just living your life, navigating it through your own experience and your own lens. But then when you get married, you have this huge other well to draw from. But if they're compromising and they're just being like pleasing and like whatever you say is the right thing, then you're really, I call this relationship math, right? It's like it's a law of diminishing returns. So if so if your partner is showing up halfway and just like only doing half of the things that they want to do, and so a half times a whole, if you're showing up fully, a half times a whole is only a half, right? So if both, and then the smaller you guys get, the less you get together. But if you have 1 times 1, right? If I get all the things that I want and you get all the things that you want, that's way more than if both of you are compromising the things that are really important to you.
Freaking fire. Are you guys heads exploding back there?
So
I realize
don't
how useful that
compromise. Don't start compromising when you're dating. Don't tell the person that you're dating that you don't want them to compromise, and then don't do it
It's
when
funny,
you're married.
we do things sometimes where she'll want these little goat cheese fried things at this one restaurant. I'm like, I don't
Love
want to
it.
go there. Well, I want to go here. But we'll go do both.
I was going to say,
We
why
just
not
go
do
there
both?
and we
Why not
eat
get
it, and it's
appetizers
way
at
more
one
fun.
restaurant? You know what my husband does, and I love it. He started doing this on our 10-year anniversary, right? I always want seafood at an expensive restaurant when we're going on an anniversary dinner, right? My husband would rather die than pay a bunch of money for food that he doesn't like. So we'll go to a really nice seafood restaurant for me, and he'll go get In-N-Out and bring it into the restaurant, and they'll plate it for him. I'm not embarrassed at all. He got exactly
is
what he
epic.
wanted. I got what I wanted. Everybody's happy.
That
I
is
love
epic.
this so
it's such
much.
a boss thing to do.
Do you think the Chinese buffet will understand this? Because my husband loves the Chinese buffet, and
That's a shameful hidden truth about me that you're not supposed to share. No one
No.
loves the Chinese
No.
buffet except, people
Like,
battling
even
weight
the
problems like me.
even
Keep
the
going.
kids start to giggle when it's like hey, you want to go to Chinese buffet? And all the kids cheer. And then he's like, everybody knows mom does not want to go to the Chinese buffet, but maybe if I just take my
So
own food,
you-
I could take my goat cheese
Or-
balls into the
exactly.
Chinese buffet. I'm okay with this.
Uber Eats whatever you want to the Chinese buffet. You sit there and you enjoy your meal and let them eat whatever crap they
Monica,
want.
you're unlocking some happiness inside my soul right now that I just feel so alive.
Well, she's just, it's so obvious after you say it, but it's so genius because it's hidden. It's hidden. It's like, how do we not think of this? 1 + 1 = 3 when you think like what you're describing. Maverick, we're about at the top of the hour, or just over actually, but Maverick, did you have any random questions?
And this is going to be out of nowhere, and it might kill the vibe. But I'm sorry. Is there a time, or when is the time when divorce is actually acceptable?
Good question.
That is a great question. I would say abuse, adultery, addiction, like those are the big ones. If there's no possible way to create a happily ever after, which is the case for some people, just don't mix. They're better apart than they are together. But there are always things that you can try before, but there are definite people who are not meant to live and procreate and raise their children together. But that doesn't mean that those people aren't meant to be happy. So those people, I do believe there is somebody who they can be happy with, but maybe they're just not a good combination together. So I think divorce is always an option.
It's a great answer. Way better than the answer I would have thought of. But what was the 4 things you said?
Abuse, addiction, adultery.
Oh, the
She's
3
3.
things. Abuse, addiction, and adultery. I mean, yeah. What are you going to do with that? I mean, if your partner is literally just like militantly against changing anything ever, that's tough.
It's true. And people, I'm not saying that people can't overcome any one of those 3 things, but if it's like a chronic issue and it's, it's impeding your ability to live a happy, productive, thriving life, then you should definitely love your partner enough to let them figure out their own stuff. So that's boundary making. And I mean, there's a lot of, you can really help somebody who's really struggling by setting those boundaries and saying, I love you, but I'm not going to be with you because I can't support your behavior.
So we're going to land the plane.
Yes.
So prepare your final thoughts as I talk right now. But I'd love for you to briefly explain the 007 system and then share final thoughts to every entrepreneur family watching this and explain what the 00 system is, why it is. It's funny, it's cute, but there's reasons for this.
Funny
And
and
it has-
cute. You didn't find it funny and cute.
I'm saying people are going to think like, oh, that's silly. It's not silly. So listen to it. And then whatever final thoughts you want, I will just say go to MonicaTanner.com. She's got quizzes and things and checklists. Go to the Secret Art of Sex Espionage. It's called something else now, but just click on it. Click on whatever it's called. Buy it.
I'll always call
Do
it that for you,
Just
Josh.
trust me. Just trust me, bro. I'm talking to you. And then Ashley, you can close this out. We always pray at the end of the podcast, so I'll let Ashley do that. So, Monica, take it away.
I love that. Well, training in the art of connection is basically, it's 12 weeks and it's all of my frameworks for how you prioritize your marriage. And it starts with setting a good foundation of friendship. It's like my 3 laws. I teach my 3 laws of relationships. So relationships have laws just like physical laws of gravity, right? Like what goes up must come down. Relationships are built on laws just like that too. So if you learn those laws, I promise your life is going to be easier and your relationships will be better. And not only just your marriage relationship, which is awesome, but bonus, your relationship with your children, your relationship with your coworkers and friends and things like that. Once you understand the laws of relationships, you're golden. So that's how the course starts. But then we also talk about conflict resolution, communication, commitment, dreaming and planning together, all of those things. So you run through, and each module is a mission. So the real investment in this program is you're going to learn how to date your spouse, what is important, and it's fun. It's not like you're sitting there with like boring content, like theoretical knowledge about something. You get to actually put into practice in these date nights. You're going to learn how to properly date your spouse over that 12 weeks. And it ends up with the 007, which is, I mean, do I leave it up to imagination? But it's 7 days, double O's. Everybody gets an O.
Everybody enjoys the time that they're having.
And that is your greatest-
orgasmic, everybody.
It's
A double. Oh,
orgasmic,
let's
yes.
just go for that.
It is
7 days in a row. Everybody says, "Oh." I mean,
That was fantastic. I love it. But yes, it's so, so, so important to be able. That is your final challenge. But it's not your final challenge because we do have Training in the Art of Connection 2, level 2, right? So you get to even enjoy more pleasure with.
well, I
with
imagine
that.
after you get to the 007 part, you just never want to stop learning.
It becomes double 14.
Stop it. Yes.
365.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
That's a lot of work, actually. I don't know if I can.
That would take more than 3%.
You got to take a few breaks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that's my closing thoughts is thank you so much for that number, 3%. Invest 3% more in your relationship in 2023 and shield yourself from National Divorce Day, week, month, year, whatever it is. You can have a happily ever after if you choose to invest literally 3% more time, energy, and financial into it.
Yep. That's it.
And do you want me to
ahead,
pray?
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to pray, but I wanted to say when you were saying the 3%, I'm like, oh, that's why. Because when we're dating, we give like 100%. We're like, what are you thinking about right now while you're sleeping and doing all this crazy stuff? And so that's why you need to keep it 3%. But okay, I'm going to pray us out because, oh my goodness, this was amazing. And I'm not going to be able to hear my music, Jarrett. That's when I start crying. So that's okay. They always start playing music. But dear Jesus, thank you so much for dying on the cross for us. We love you, worship you, and honor you and praise you. Lord, I just pray that the words that Monica spoke today, that people would use it in their marriage, that you would heal marriages, Lord, that you would bless marriages in 2023, Lord, that you would fill all their broken parts and make them whole. So when, Lord, I just pray for their children, Lord. Lord, we found out today that their children are affected by their marriage. And that's the number one thing that they could do. So I just pray that husbands and wives would love each other so much, and not only love each other, but like each other, Lord, that they would honor you with their marriage and their family and their business, Lord. I just pray out favor and blessing on marriages in 2023. God, thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you of the way that you built Monica, Lord, that she is just passionate and ready to change the world for families. Lord, I just thank you that she's my friend. I'm so glad to know her. And I thank you for my super sexy husband because I'm obsessed with him. And I'm glad that there's people like Monica that remind us that marriage is important. And it's one of the most important things. So, God, I just pray that you just bless people. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. See you all next time.
See you next time.
Oh my gosh, I love you, friend.
Oh, I love you too.